Have you ever felt like you were putting just an absolutely massive amount of effort into something, only to realize your energy was completely mismatched for the task at hand? Kind of like you were trying to shoot a mosquito with a literal cannon. It's a pretty ridiculous image, right? But this humorous analogy of mismatched effort perfectly sets the stage for what we're going to unpack today. Welcome. I'm super excited to guide you through this explainer as we explore a really fascinating framework all about human potential and purpose. Today, we're breaking down a core philosophical concept outlined in a text called Make the Best Use of Everything. It comes directly from Guide Xuefeng, the founder of Life Chanyuan. Now, no matter what your background is, the concepts we're going to dissect today offer a highly unique lens on exactly how society organizes talent, energy, and resources. To give you just a little bit of context up front, Guide Xuefeng is the founder of Life Chanyuan, which operates as an alternative lifestyle movement. The big overarching goal of the philosophy we are looking at today is actually to completely eliminate human waste and misery. How? By perfectly aligning everything, and we mean everything, from objects to plants to human beings, with its innate natural purpose. Okay, let's jump right into it. We're going to follow a really clear structure today, zooming out from micronature all the way to macro society. We'll hit function, nature, and strength before getting into the tragedy of mismatch and finally wrapping up with the Life Chanyuan vision. Starting with our first pillar, function. This is all about understanding the applicable point of all things. The core argument here is that in the natural world, absolutely nothing is considered a waste if it's functioning as intended. We typically look at things like animal feces, dung beetles, or dead autumn leaves and just see waste, right? Maybe even find them repulsive. But the text reframes this entirely, granting them what it calls a divine purpose. Feces acts as this incredibly fine fertilizer promoting plant growth. Dung beetles and falling leaves actively balance the ecosystem. The text argues that when we recognize this, it reveals an equal, deeply satisfactory state in nature where literally everything is valuable. And this idea brilliantly scales up from nature directly to your own body. Every single organ, our eyes, our hands, the brain, the internal organs, they all have a specific, highly applicable function. The text asserts that all of these must be used to their absolute fullest. Why? Because according to the author, it's only by doing so that we live up to the will of creation. It's really about the total, unhindered utilization of what we've been given. That brings us to pillar number 2, nature, or finding the wonderful point of unsuppressed instinct. This pillar focuses heavily on what happens when innate instincts are embraced versus when they're suppressed. When a creature's specific nature is repressed, it directly causes grievance and suffering. On the flip side, when nature is expressed freely, when horses are allowed to run, cows to give milk, and bees to just do their thing, pollinating and making honey, it actively creates harmony. Allowing this expression doesn't just prevent grievance, it is exactly what nature intended. Mapping this directly onto human beings, Guide Xuefeng connects this wonderful point to our specific aptitudes. Think about it. If someone has a natural aptitude for singing or dancing, their ideal expression requires a stage to perform. If they are natural caretakers or love growing things, they need opportunities to nurture. The text argues very firmly that society actually has a fundamental responsibility to provide the avenues for individuals to maximize these exact traits.
Moving right along to our third pillar, strength. Maximizing potential by utilizing the merit inherent in different designs.
The text takes this concept and categorizes various subjects by their inherent strengths. In transportation, an aircraft's absolute strength is the sky, right? Well, a ship's is obviously the water. Now, taking this to a global level, the text even asserts that different human demographics have distinct qualities. For instance, associating African populations with physical quality, Western populations with technological quality, and Asian populations with thinking quality. And in nutrition, beans provide protein, while vegetables provide vitamins. The overarching philosophy here is that every single category possesses incredibly specific inherent strengths that must be maximally utilized, rather than altered or forced into something else. Guide Xuefeng uses some pretty vivid analogies to highlight what happens when we misuse these strengths. I mean, you could technically grow flowers in a washable or try to use a pen as a chopstick. It's physically possible. But by doing so, you're completely wasting their actual merit. It becomes a literal distortion of their nature. And this perfectly sets up the climax of our explainer. We're now going to apply these 3 rules, function, nature, and strength, directly to human society to understand what the author calls the tragedy of mismatched talents. The author argues that forcing people out of their natural strengths is not just inefficient, it's a profound societal tragedy. Imagine forcing brilliant literature experts into scientific study, or making gifted musicians do acrobatics, or pushing natural farmers into corporate business. The result of this mismatched manpower is a massive distortion and suppression of human nature. It is the human equivalent of using that pen as a chopstick. This quote really illustrates the core empathy of this entire philosophy. Listen to this. If someone lives powerless and accomplishes nothing, the real reason is not that the man has not got a gift, but that people use his talents in a wrong place or wrong way. In this framework, individual failure is almost entirely viewed as a societal misplacement. It is never a lack of innate gifts, it's simply a failure of positioning. Remember our hook at the very beginning, the one about shooting a mosquito with a cannon? Well, here is another incredibly powerful analogy from the text. Mismatched human lives and suppressed potential is the macro equivalent of trying to dig a mountain tunnel using bullets or grenades. Both scenarios are wildly inefficient, super destructive, and ultimately a tragic waste of energy. So, how does one actually go about solving this massive global problem? That brings us to our final section, the Life Shenyan Vision. The systemic solution proposed by Guy Shufeng is something called the home without marriage and family. This second home model is essentially designed as a utopian environment where every single person and every single object is systematically positioned to absolutely maximize their unique function, nature, and strength. It's an entire social structure built from the ground up to prevent that tragic mismatch of talents we just talked about. The final, ultimate goal of this movement is to usher in the Life Chanyuan era, and the targets are highly ambitious. They want to minimize waste to the lowest possible limit globally, maximize the strength of all human potential, and educate all their community members, who they refer to as Chanyuan Celestials, on this very specific awareness. It's all about making this macro to micro philosophy a daily lived reality. So I want to leave you with a provocative question to reflect on today. Are your innate talents being fully used in the right place? Or do you kind of feel like you're living powerlessly, shooting mosquitoes with a cannon? It's a really powerful lens through which to view our own lives, our careers, and even how we structure our communities. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today, and I really hope this framework helps you think a little differently about your own wonderful points and hidden strengths. Catch you next time.